Hello and welcome to the Waiting for Next Year YouTube page. Appreciate you stopping by. We're here today to do a quick Cavs update. We're 1 week into the season. The Cavs are 2-1, and it's been a little bit of an odd week. They opened up against Boston and old pal Kyrie Irving. I already kind of recapped that game. It was a strange one. Gordon Hayward's gruesome injury in the beginning of the game kind of threw it off, and the Cavs jumped out to a big lead that Boston was unable to chip away and make it a game that the Cavs kind of pulled away at the end. It was typical Cavaliers that we've seen from the last few years. It wasn't surprising to see them, jump out to a lead and then kind of get bored. That's sort of what they do. But they did pull it out in the end. They were able to win that game. They then went and played Milwaukee, who is very good. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably my favorite for the MVP this early. He's on a team where he's the solo act and he's able to rack up a lot of numbers, and he's just incredible. Watching him play is just completely unique, especially in today's small ball NBA where there is such an emphasis on three-pointers. It's fun to watch Antetokounmpo, operate. It's also fun to say Antetokounmpo. It takes a lot of practice, but then once you get good, it's a really cool party trick. And you can sound really smart about the NBA by saying like, oh wait, have you guys heard about Antetokounmpo? And it makes people think that you're a basketball nerd. So I appreciate that about Giannis. But again, that was a game that the Cavaliers won and they kind of controlled. It's a very good team. It's a hard team. They're long and they have a different playing style. They're a little bit difficult to play in a regular season matchup where you're not, scouting them out much and game planning. So that was a good win. And then, in typical Cavaliers fashion, they came around and lost to the awful Orlando Magic, who were missing two of their best players. That was a weird game where the Cavs couldn't hit anything early. The Magic couldn't miss early. LeBron was the only one who really had it going. Kevin Love was missing a lot of shots. J.R. Smith hasn't been able to hit anything all year either. And the Cavs tried to stay in it, but with every more ridiculous, Mo Spates three-pointer, they gave up at a certain point, and that's fine. You hate to see that. But we're 4 years into this, and we see that all the time, and we know what it means, and then that is not much. So, am I upset? No. It was fun. We got to see some of the young kids. We got to see Cedi Osman, and we got to see Ante Zizic, and I thought they both looked really good and really interesting. Not in the sense that I think they're going to help a lot this season, but I think that they showed a lot of what makes them interesting. Osman can move his feet really well. He seemed to on defense to be really active. He has a lot of energy. He seems to know where to be and how to play. Just being a smart basketball player is something fun to watch. We've done a lot of it as Cavaliers fans, with the Earl Clarks and the Anthony Bennett's and the Shumperts and, up and down the line. We've watched a lot of players who might have had athleticism, might have had some skill, but just didn't have the brain to be where they needed to be, and just the sense, the whatever you want to call that, on the feel for the game, and he definitely seemed to have that. He moved his feet. I really was impressed. There was one play where he started to go right, was cut off, went around, flipped around, went left, beat his guy going left, and went up at the hoop and did one of those kind of wraparound passes that you see LeBron do to a guy in the corner for a three. And again, that's just a good look. That's a play that you don't see a ton of guys able to do that. So I was impressed with just that. I don't think he's going to be great, but he looked like a very solid possible role player. Zizic was interesting as well. He's huge. He moves his feet well. He seemed to have good instincts on defense. He seemed to be in the right spot. He seemed to disrupt a lot of shots. He was grabbing a lot of rebounds. He was great at putbacks. He seemed to really know how to get in place to grab a rebound and put it back up for some quick points. And again, that's what you want from him. I'm not looking at these guys to be stars, but if they can be solid contributors who could find ways to impact a game, get quick points, make their presence felt, I think that's really good for those guys. So, 3 games in, got to see the young guys. That's fun. We're 2-1. We have Chicago and Brooklyn coming up, so hopefully we are 4-1, in a couple of days here. Some other interesting things. It became fairly obvious that playing with Dwyane Wade in the starting unit wasn't tenable. Obviously, with Isaiah Thomas out, we've had to use Derrick Rose at point guard. and Wade and Rose on the floor at the same time just didn't work. There just wasn't enough spacing because neither can shoot. Rose did suffer an ankle injury against Milwaukee, and so against the Magic, Jose Calderon got the start, and that lasted 5 minutes, I believe. He played before he got yanked. Shumpert actually started the second half at point guard. So not a lot of depth at point guard. That's a scary proposition going forward. I'm not a Derrick Rose fan. I don't enjoy watching Derrick Rose on this team. I don't really think he's looked great. And that's specifically with the starters. Maybe with the second unit he could be okay, but I really don't want to watch him on the floor with LeBron James at all. But it came out on Monday that Dwyane Wade said that he was willing to go to the bench. That he went to Ty Lue and said he was willing to go to the bench. Now, whether he actually, out of the kindness of his heart, came to that conclusion, whether Ty told him that and let him save face by saying that he said that, or whether LeBron went to him and told him, hey, you need to go to the bench, it doesn't matter. I think it's there was a lot of reports that guys were unhappy with their roles. Love with his role, Tristan and JR going to the bench. So I would say that it is a sign of a locker room that maybe had a little bit of, not animosity, but just a little bit of stress put into it. It's good to see that they could make that change and that Wade could see that and change it. I like Wade as the ball handler for the second unit. I think there's a lot of fun things that you can do there. So kudos to the team for doing that. Kudos to Wade, who is, I've mentioned it before, a top 2 or 3 shooting guard of all time, willing to take a bench role. That's great. It's amazing how much that changes the outlook of the team. So J.R. Smith is going to go back to the starting unit. We're going to have some of that spacing. The threes that have been missing from this offense should start to come back at least a little bit. And it just unlocks a lot of better lineups down the road. So that's good. The other thing to follow is the Brooklyn pick that we received in the Kyrie Irving trade. There's a lot of bad teams this year. And, I think we were all hoping that Brooklyn was going to be one of the worst. They've come out to a decent start. They've won a couple of games. Jeremy Lin did go down with an injury and will be out for the rest of the year. So, that should certainly hurt their win total for the year. But there's been a lot of other bad teams with even crazier things happening. Chicago is awful. And Bobby Portis punched Nikola Mirotic in the face and broke a bunch of face bones, which isn't good for your face. So he's going to be out for a few weeks. Portis is suspended for a few weeks. The Bulls are awful. And so they'll likely finish with the worst record of the Nets. I think that's safe to say. They're putting out one of the worst NBA rosters I've ever seen. So, they're taking the lead in the tank races. And then, again, on Monday, Eric Bledsoe, the lone kind of veteran good player for the Suns, came out and kind of demanded a trade right after they fired their coach. They fired their coach. Actually, I believe Bledsoe tweeted, "I don't want to be here," followed by them firing their coach, followed by Bledsoe trying to say that he was just talking about him being at a hair salon, followed by the team saying, "We don't buy it, and we're going to trade you." So he's on the trade block. He'll be moved. That's a team with a lot of young players that'll probably also go tank stick on us. So good and bad news with the pick. Obviously bad news that Jeremy Lin is hurt. You don't like to see guys get hurt, but it's good in the sense of a purely sports sense that it means less wins for them. So obviously I would prefer somebody not get hurt, but injuries are a reality in sports and we have to react accordingly, and that means less wins for the Nets. So it's looking kind of like a 3-team race for the bottom there. The Nets will probably finish 3rd or 4th, worst record in the NBA, and have some pretty decent lottery odds. That pick will have a lot of value, or we can use it to draft a young player. So interesting first week, stuff to keep an eye on. Let's see if there's some more 3-pointers. Let's see what happens with the rotation, who sticks, and let's see if we can get some more shots of these young guys. So thanks for joining. We appreciate it. I'm going to try to do these twice a week, give you a quick Cavs update on what's been going on. Subscribe, comment, like, all that kind of stuff. When you subscribe, you get the content right away. We really, really appreciate that. Just click that little button. It does a lot for us, and we appreciate it. So we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.